A very good morning and welcome along to the final day of our trip to Circuit Zandvoort and round 14 of the Wera Tours British F4 Championship certified by FIA is getting prepared to get underway. The cars are about to be released from the pit lane to the grid for the reverse grid race here at Zandvoort, where the top 12 cars from qualifying yesterday are reversed. Less points on offer today. 10 points for the race win compared to 25 in the two main races. However, points are up for grabs for making positions up as well. So there's plenty to play for here on another sunny day at Zandvoort. Great weather through Europe over the last few weeks, and it's been a great time for the championship to go on holiday to the Netherlands. John Munro with me, Joshua Barrett, for this weekend. And John, this race has got plenty to offer with this mixed-up grid.
It certainly does, and it sounds like lower stakes because of the smaller points total, of course, that you gain from race two. But for a lot of drivers, with that reverse grid, it's a great chance to elevate yourself in the championship, especially if you're mired somewhere in the midfield. This can be the race where you stand out, make your mark on the championship, and gain a little bit of confidence. And hopefully that's what we'll see from the likes of Mate Kobakhidze on pole position, lining up alongside Ethan Lennon on that front row this morning. And it is difficult. We saw it was difficult to overtake at Zandvoort. Not impossible, but difficult based on yesterday's fantastic first race, which was won by Belgian driver Dries Van Langendonck, who retakes the championship lead from Lewis Wherrell. The field spread was super impressive in terms of lap times, though, Joshua. I mean, the fastest lap spread between the fastest driver and the back markers was only around about a second and a half. So that's 32 Formula 4 cars that are all within a couple of seconds in terms of lap time, which is exactly what we want to see. But of course, when they're close together and the cars are equally matched, of course, this being a controlled championship, it does mean that overtaking is more of a challenge. Will we see some of the best drivers in the field make their way up from the midfield towards the front? Who knows, but it's going to be exciting to find out.
Absolutely. We've seen some varying reverse grid races over the events this season. We've seen some chaotic ones and we've seen some calm ones as well. So we'll see what we get here at Zandvoort this morning. Early morning start for British F4, just gone 9:30 here at Zandvoort. The track is that a bit dusty, or is that cars looking up on their way to the grid? So maybe not maximum grip levels this morning, particularly at one of the main overtaking opportunities. As you said, Dries Van Langendonck took his third victory yesterday, so I reckon he's now on 150 points. If you also credit him the 2 points he'll get for race 3 for getting pole position in qualifying, so that puts him 18 points ahead of Lewis Wherrell. Then Ethan Jeff Hall is third in the championship. He's been closed in by Theo Palmer, who finished second in the race yesterday. His best result of the season. And Kin Lindblom took third, which was his fourth podium of the season. One small change to the results from yesterday, if you were following along. Ethan Carney has been penalised a position. So Tommy Harfield has been credited with fifth place ahead of Ethan Carney. And Tommy Harfield could be the one to watch in this race, John, I think, because he starts third position on the reverse grid race. He's won races in the past. This season has been a challenge for Tommy. Last year he had pole positions and won races. This year hasn't gone to plan in the same way. So this is a great opportunity from Tommy, the British driver, going from third place.
Yeah, this race is the perfect platform for Tommy to grab his first win of the season. As you say, he's got winning pedigree in this championship, but it's been a struggle for Tommy. Bit of an inconsistent start to the year. He got a bit unlucky as well, had a couple of incidents early doors. So he'll be looking to bounce back from that, but we are already reaching the midway point of the championship, so he's running out of time to mount a serious championship challenge. Yesterday did help him, though. He moved up from 12th to 10th in the drivers' standings, jumping ahead of Ethan Lennon and Kit Belofsky. But Ethan Lennon, of course, is the man who starts one place in front of him, so he'll be looking to regain that place in the championship. We also spoke about Ethan Carney there. Yes, he was penalised a position yesterday, dropping him behind Harfield, but it was still a great performance from Carney, and he jumps up into the top 15 in the championship too. And again, because of his strong qualifying, he will be starting towards the front for this race. I believe he starts fourth for this one, so alongside Harfield. So basically, your three biggest movers from yesterday are actually all starting in the top four for the reverse grid as well. So it's been a great weekend for those drivers, and they'll be looking to take as many points as possible. But remember, in this second race, it's not just about being at the front. Sometimes it's actually an opportunity to score more points if you're further down the field. The likes of Dries Van Langendonck, who had the perfect day yesterday, he'll be looking to overtake as many cars as possible and pick up not only result points, but also overtaking points. It's 1 point per position that you gain in the final classification of the race from your starting position. So still plenty of points on offer, 20 in total for a driver who can go and win the race from 10th. I don't think we're going to see that though today, Joshua. I think it's going to be too tough. And as we said, the field spread is so close. These drivers right at the front have the potential to stay up there. I think Mate Kobakhidze is a young man. He's very talented, but he's not quite had the results this season that have really elevated him into the spotlight. This could be the chance for that number 44 car starting on pole position.
Yeah, he had some last word of advice going on, perhaps from his driver coach there at XL Motorsport. The Georgian driver, Mate Kobakhidze, got a lot of support from him, I think, back at home in Georgia as well. So we shall see how he gets on. The start is important. We've seen that in these reverse grid races. If you can make a good start, you're in a very good position. The other thing goes on here is tyre strategy, because you get 2 sets of Pirelli slick racing tyres for the weekend. If you've qualified well in races 1 and 3, you probably think about making sure you have the best of those sets of tyres in those 2 races. If you're towards the front of this reverse grid race, I think this is when you use your better set of those Pirelli slicks after qualifying. So you've done your lap times on those tyres in qualifying, but you find the best ones to use for this reverse grid race should you be starting near the front. And that actually is what makes it even more challenging for the likes of Dries Van Langendonck to come through in this race, because he's probably, I would suggest, on the tyres that he won the race on yesterday. So he's probably got not as good of a set of tyres as those further up the grid.
Yeah, and tyre wear is a thing here. You know, speaking to Scott Kin Lindblom yesterday, he did say the one thing he wants to work on for today's race is tyre management. He had the pace. He was just about hanging on to the coattails of Dries Van Langendonck and Theo Palmer, who, of course, broke away at the front. But he said the one thing he needs to do is work on his tyre temperature management, tyre wear. So clearly tyres are something the drivers are going to have to think about, not just which set to be used, but actually managing those during the race. So it's going to be interesting to see how his approach changes from this one. He'll be starting in P11. And just one quick correction as well. Ethan Carney's not starting 4th. He is starting 5th, because it's actually Alba Larsen starting 4th, who had a bit of contact yesterday, went off the circuit. She'll be looking to bounce back.
Let's have a look at the full grid then. So it is the Georgian driver, Mate Kobakhidze, on pole alongside Ethan Lennon. Tommy Harfield starts 3rd. Alba Larsen, best starting position for her in British F4 in 4th. Ethan Carney, 5th, alongside the BRDC International Trophy winner, George Proudford-Nalder. Cameron Nelson starts 7th alongside Jaber Al-Shabar. Podium finisher yesterday, Theo Palmer starts 9th alongside Ethan Jeff Hall. Scott Kin Lindblom, also on the podium yesterday, starts 11th alongside the championship leader, the 3-time race winner, Dries Van Langendonck. Jarrett Clark starts 13th. The erstwhile championship leader, 2nd in points, Lewis Wherrell starts 14th. Cash Falber is next alongside Joseph Smith. On row 9 is where we find Adam Al-Zahari and Roman Felber. Kit Belofsky starts 19th alongside Chiara Bättig. Luba Royakov is next with Henry Mercier in 22nd. A race winner at the British Grand Prix last weekend, Elba Felbermayr is 23rd alongside Alfie Slater. Leon Headford and Timo Jungling are on row 13. Cole Hewitson and Harney Sadiq are next. Ella Lloyd and Jackson Wolney on row 15. And Daniela Sutton and Sun Anzi make up this huge 32-car grid for British F4, following off from Silverstone, the largest grid that we've seen in the championship. And one thing I've just noticed there, John, is slippery surface flags, and that's where it looked a little bit dusty. So perhaps in that previous session we've had here at Zandvoort, something's been put on the road, which is not ideal for the British F4 competitors. So this green flag lap, even more important to work out where the grip is.
Absolutely. And heading into that chicane on the first lap, the drivers are going to be a bit nervous about how much grip they're going to have underneath them, which is exactly why it's worth doing as much of a recce as you possibly can on these formation laps, just to get a feel for it. You can see a lot of them running over the dust as well. That's going to help things out too. It's going to help clear a path through that. The dust will dissipate very, very quickly as this race develops, but that chicane is a tricky braking zone. We saw big lockups into there yesterday. We see overtakes into there, of course, but we also see it as a potential incident spot. So once again, I'm expecting this opening lap to be a little bit frenetic. We did see a safety car on the opening lap yesterday. Will we see another one today? I wouldn't bet against it. I hope not, but we'll have to wait and see. These drivers, as I said yesterday, will be keen to make as many positions as possible on the early laps because it's going to be difficult further into the race. So you're going to see too wide at points. You're going to see lots of action, and it's going to be exciting.
And it's 20 minutes in duration. Round 14 of the Wera Tools British F4 Championship coming up next with a first-time pole position driver in Matej Kobakhidze. He's yet to finish in the top 6 in any of the races, so he will be looking for his best result. Can it be a podium? Can it be a race win? Well, the next 20 minutes or so, we will find out. It's the South African driver, Ethan Lennon, who starts alongside one of 9 drivers on this grid who raced in the Ginetta Junior Championship in the past. Tommy Harfield, the best of the Brits, starts in 3rd position, the Worcestershire driver. And Alba Larsen alongside the Dane, who is racing for Ferrari in the F1 Academy. On the 3rd row is where we find Ethan Carney and the Australian George Proudford-Nalder, but it looks like majority of the 32 cars are in position. There's still a few cars, I think, hiding behind the Zandvoort bridge to come into position. Then the green flag will be waved at the back, and the Abarth 1.4 turbocharged engine machines will start to rise their revs ahead of the 20-minute race for round 14 of the Wera Tools F4 British Championship. The lights come on, 4 lights, 5 lights, and the lights go out. Racing gets underway, and it's a good start from Ethan Lennon from the left-hand side of your picture. So Ethan Lennon takes the lead. In 2nd position is Kobakhidze. Tommy Harfield has Alba Larsen looking up the inside of him, but I think Harfield around the outside should be able to hang on. He can, but it was a great start then from Ethan Lennon, the South African racer who leads the way. A bit of Justin looking up, going on up towards turn 3 for the first time. But we saw yesterday, the majority of drivers take the high, wide line to get the acceleration out of there, uphill through 4, 5 and 6. But a perfect start from Ethan Lennon to lead the motor race.
We had a Fortec car off there in the background, just touching the armco on the outside of Hugenholtz, so we'll have to wait and see if that car's managed to continue, but certainly not a good start for one of the Fortecs. We also saw a bit of a lock-up there from Kobakhidze into turn 2, and there is the damaged Fortec just at the back there. Looks like the suspension is finished on the rear of that car, so let's see if they can recover that back to the pits or park in a safe place. Meanwhile, it looks like Harfield down the inside of Kobakhidze, not making it stick this time, so it's Matej that holds that position. But it's former race winner, of course, Ethan Lennon. Won a race at Donington to start the season, a reverse grid race there. He leads the reverse grid race here at Zandvoort.
Yeah, it's a big challenge that was from Tommy Harfield trying to get through early on, but that did leave him a little bit vulnerable for a moment to Alba Larsen. But it remains in the order they were after the first corner. Kobakhidze locks up into the S-bend, but manages to hang on again. So a couple of moments he's had over the last couple of corners. Grip levels aren't quite where they were yesterday for some of the drivers, but hanging on in 2nd position is Kobakhidze from Harfield and Larsen, who was starting to come under pressure from the car behind. The car that was damaged, by the way, I think is Kit Belofsky. Yeah, that's a Fortec car, isn't it? So Kit Belofsky is the driver who you described going out wide a few corners ago. But big challenge again from Tommy Harfield in the tow. He looks to the left-hand side of the circuit, brakes late around the outside of Kobakhidze into turn 1, goes right round the outside. The multiple winner from last year, Tommy Harfield, hanging on round the outside. We'll have to go around the outside again here before he'll have the inside line for Hugenholtz. Down the inside goes Tommy Harfield. But round the outside, Kobakhidze, they make contact. Round goes Kobakhidze. Alba Larsen's going to make the most of that potentially and go up into 2nd place. But we said there would be dramas at Hugenholtz, and that's absolutely what happened. Harfield on that inside line had the sort of the corner, but didn't have the momentum, and the 2 cars clashed on the corner exit, John.
Well, I think that was a perfect demonstration of what we've been thinking all weekend. There just isn't quite the grip around Hugenholtz if you're not on that full outside line. And you saw it on the first lap as well, a couple of cars getting a bit squirrely when they weren't running that full outside line, when they were down the inside of someone else. And that's what Harfield did there. He tried to stay as close as he could to that outside line, but you could just see the car got a little bit loose. He slid up the circuit into Kobakhidze, who was just keeping his line on the outside, and unfortunately the 2 make contact. So once again, it's an incident for Harfield in this season, and I'm gutted for Kobakhidze as well. He hasn't managed that top 5 this season as we go under safety car conditions. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen in this race either. He was a little bit flustered, you'd have to say, in that first lap, just locking up a couple of times, trying to hang on to that position. But he certainly didn't deserve to end up facing the wrong way at turn 3. So really unfortunate for those two. We also saw there Belofsky parked by the side of the road. So it's going to be retirement for Belofsky and probably a retirement for Kobakhidze. But does Tommy Harfield's car have damage too?
Yes, that's something to see. And how far has he dropped down the order? Because he did lose time in all that. Because Alba Larsen's up to second and Cameron Nelson up to third. So two drivers very much looking for their best result in the championship, up into the top 3 now. Something we didn't pick up on was that Dries Van Langendonck dropped to 17th on the opening lap. He might have made some positions up with the incidents ahead of him, but his first lap didn't go to plan. So any points out of this race for Van Langendonck potentially unlikely, although he's made even more progress. There's cars in the pit lane, I can tell you, so there was more incidents further back, and it includes Lewis Wherrell. So the one race we thought Lewis Wherrell might be able to get points out of, it's not going to happen. He's into the pit lane, so is Joseph Smith, so is Jaber Al-Shabar. So now, were they caught up as cars were spinning ahead of them, or was that a completely separate accident that's caused damage to those 3 cars? I wonder. So the order is very much mixed. Ethan Lennon leads. That's been the case since turn 1. Alba Larsen is second. Cameron Nelson is up to third. George Proudford-Nalder is fourth. Ethan Carney is fifth. Kin Lindblom's up to sixth. So he's looking like he's going to gain good points out of this. Theo Palmer is seventh. Tommy Harfield recovered in eighth. Jarrett Clark is ninth. And Ethan Jeff Hall is 10th. So the order looking very different at the moment, John.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we also saw Leon Headforce with an issue early on as well. So he's right down the back of the field, but still going by the looks of it, is Headforce. In fact, I'm not sure if he is still going. We'll have to keep an eye on that one too. But either way, it's not going to be any points in this round for the young Swede. Alba Larsen up in P2. That's a solid start, of course, after the mistakes for the drivers in front. So she'll be looking to try and hang on to the coattails of Ethan Lennon on this restart. I do think Van Langendonck, I did see a car running wide out of this corner that we're heading towards right now, turn 10, and it looked to me to have orange flashes from what I could see, but I couldn't confirm if it was Van Langendonck or not. That was on the opening lap. So that may also go somewhat to explain why he's dropped down to what was 17, but P13 now for Langendonck, so he's really not too far away from that top 10 once again. So yeah, could be that, could be unrelated, not sure. But once again, we have an early safety car in this race, and that of course means that by the time we get going again, there's only going to be around about 10 minutes left in this one. The safety car lights are still on, so it looks like we're still got a little bit of work to do to clear the circuit. And all of this is going to be helping Ethan Lennon. The longer the safety car's out, the less laps he has to defend from the charging Alba Larsen, who, as I said earlier, was mighty impressive pace-wise yesterday, both in qualifying and in the first race, before she had that unfortunate contact with, I believe it was Roykov, the newcomer? So yeah, she'll be desperate to get a good result under her belt, because she's not done as many races this year. And this would by far and away be the best performance of the season, so it's great to see.
Yeah, and it's generally, she's not been on a podium in any car race before. There were so many occasions in F1 Academy last year where it looked like Alba Larsen was going to get a podium, particularly at Las Vegas, I think it was, when she was leading the race and then had an accident. But this is a massive opportunity on this ultra-competitive British F4 grid to be up there into second place. Okay, it's a reverse grid race, but actually to qualify in the top 12 to get the reverse grid race potential is not easy. So Alba Larsen with a big opportunity here, as has Cameron Nelson behind, who we've not seen this far up the order this season either. The Welsh racer, who race winner in the British Junior Karting Championship in the past, he's there in third position. So some big opportunities here, but for Ethan Lennon, as you mentioned, he has been a race winner before. He won the reverse grid race at the season opener at Donington Park. So he continues to control the pace behind the safety car, the Rodin Motorsport driver, the 15-year-old who had success in the Formula Winter Series at the start of the season before his main season British F4 campaign. So he continues to lead behind the safety car. Cole Hewitson, I can tell you, has now made his way into the pit lanes. That's another car that had damage. So that means for some of those drivers starting further back, they're a long way up the order and they're going to score good points. Potentially, you score up to 10 points for gaining positions. And okay, she's not in the championship full season, but Emma Felbermayr, who was a race winner at Silverstone last year, has gained 9 places. So she is on for 9 points, and very few drivers will score more than that. Ethan Lennon, for example, he will be getting 10 if he stays here to win, plus the 1 position to gain. So he gets 11. But that's very few more points for somebody who's in the mid-pack. So it's a slightly unusual point system, and you can end up scoring a lot of points, although being a long way down the order, potentially, John.
Yeah, exactly that. You could technically start in pole position and finish second and score less points than someone who finishes P20 if they've gained 10 places. So it's a bit of a difficult one to follow anyway from a championship perspective, but it is great to watch and it obviously throws up some good results. So I think the key thing from race 2 is that it's encouraging the drivers to go at it, have a go, try and make some moves. They do, of course, have to be careful because it's not as if just because you're going to be aggressive and make a lot of overtakes that you can get away with spinning someone out or causing issues, because you will get penalised for it, of course. And you obviously don't want to damage your car as well, because race 3 is coming up later today. So it's not a green ticket to just go for it, but certainly it does encourage a little bit more of an aggressive strategy for this second race. And yeah, there's certain drivers that are definitely benefiting from it. I'm glad you mentioned Emma Felbermayr, because I'd noticed she'd gone all the way up to P14, starts behind Van Langendonck for this one. But once again, another driver not doing a full campaign in British F4, but doing a great job elsewhere and sitting second in Formula One Academy at the moment. So she's doing a superb job. 2 wins this season in that championship, but yet to feature really in the top 10 here in the British F4 Championship this season. So she'll be hoping she can get closer as this race continues on and take advantage of issues for others. You did mention as well Lewis Wherrell. What a disappointment for our former championship leader. He's down to 28th after the issues he's had in this race. And we still don't know exactly what happened further down the field, whether it was one incident, multiple incidents, no incidents, we don't know. But there are quite a number of cars coming into the pit lane. So clearly there's been some dramas happening on the circuit. And yeah, it's been basically a nightmare for Lewis Wherrell. Yes, he had an inconsistent start to the season, but since Netterton, he has been the man on form and he's been proving that he can fight for this championship. I actually thought during the Silverstone weekend, given Lewis's pace once again, maybe was starting to think he was the favourite for the championship. I thought he'd found something out with this car, and that could still be true, but Van Langendonck has absolutely cemented his position as championship favourite once again throughout this weekend. There's still a race to go, of course, but Wherrell, he's got a long way to go to get some points today, and he's got a long way to go tomorrow to get points as well, so it has been a tough weekend for the Brit.
Well, we're under safety car. I think we can have a look at a view of the start of the race again. And the start was crucial for Ethan Lennon, who got the better launch away from the grid. Absolutely just accelerating in first gear before they even got into second gear. John, I think he was ahead.
Yeah, certainly. He got the traction. Kobakhidze just not quite getting the car away from the line. It didn't look like it was, there wasn't a load of wheel spin or anything. It just looked like he didn't hook it up as well as Lennon. Then you had, of course, Harfield going around the outside for P3. And there was a little lock up here from Kobakhidze. There it is on the front. And that wasn't the only time that Mate locked up during that opening lap. Looked like a good start as well for Dries Van Langendonck. So clearly the positions weren't lost at the start. I think he actually gained a few. So it was later on in the lap that Van Langendonck dropped further back. So again, potentially related to the little gravel excursion we saw heading out of turn 10 on that opening one. But it's Lennon, Larsen, Nelson. As you mentioned, the Welshman hasn't been this high up this season, the GHR driver. His teammates have been doing the business. Timo Youngling, of course, and of course Lewis Wherrell as well. But it's nice to see Cameron Nelson up there in the 22. And I believe we might be going green again on this lap, Josh. So where is Lennon going to put the hammer down and fire away from this field?
Yeah, we saw yesterday Dries Van Langendonck do it at 13, the next corner basically. Will Ethan Lennon do have a different strategy? If you make a good restart behind, you've got a great slipstreaming run up to Tarzan. So safety car has made its way down into pit lane. The control is with Ethan Lennon. There's 8 minutes left of round 14 of the Wera Tools British F4 Championship, and he is leaving it much later than what we saw from Dries Van Langendonck yesterday. Now he goes, and that appeared to me, initially at least, to be a good restart from Ethan Lennon. Yeah, absolutely is. He's not going to be under threat at all as they head up towards Tarzan Corner. So Ethan Lennon, the South African, leads the way. It's all going on behind, particularly the third position. You can't pass before the line. And George Proudford-Nalder's made an excellent restart. He's trying to come around the outside of Cameron Nelson up towards turn 1. And they are side by side as they make their way through there. I think Alba Larsen held on to second, but Cameron Nelson was certainly under threat for third place as they turn their way around this opening lap after the restart, and there's been an incident behind there. One car has pulled off left with damage at turn 2.
Yeah, it's another Fortec car, so it's been a nightmare for the Fortec team as we see Harfield now running side by side with, I believe that's Theo Palmer. So Harfield dropping, obviously trying to regain those positions after the incidents early on. We also saw both Red Bull backed high techs getting very close together to different cars on that opening lap as well. Safety
I
car
can
again,
tell.
Josh.
Yeah, I can tell you the cars involved in the incident are Roman Felber, Alfie Slater, and Henry Mercier. So a three-car incident we had at turn 2, and they are the three cars that have not survived it. And the move was made for third. George Proudford-Nalder did make that move on Cameron Nelson into Tarzan, as I thought he had. A really good restart then from George Proudford-Nalder. So Cameron Nelson's first podium may not come, but what were we saying before the race? This could be chaotic. It's turned into that, I'm afraid. We've not had quite the amount of racing we would have liked. Even Jeff Hall has lost positions on this lap as well, I can tell you. He has dropped outside the top 10. We'll get clarification on the order in a moment when they cross the line, whether we get any more racing with up to 3 cars off. Henry Mercy's got back going, much delayed, so there's still at least 2 cars, Alfie Slater and Roman Felber, to be recovered, which is a concern, I think, for the race to resume at all. But for Ethan Lennon, that was an excellent restart. He was well clear immediately. Alba Larsen is second. George Proudford-Nalder, as I say, is third. Cameron Nelson dropped to fourth. Ethan Carney is fifth. Kin Lindblom is sixth. Jarrett Clark seventh. Theo Palmer is eighth. Tommy Harfield, he lost positions too, perhaps with that damage. He's ninth. And Adam Al-Zahari is in 10th position. Dries Van Langendonck, by the way, back to 12th. So he's not going to be scoring any points if nothing changes from here. And yeah, those 3 cars that I mentioned previously are the 3 cars that we've completely lost. The order has shuffled a bit around them. And there is the Fortec car then that needs recovery of Felber, isn't it? And then somewhere else is Alfie Slater's car. But for Ethan Lennon, perfect start and a perfect restart. And they have been the 2 keys to this race, which has seen very limited actual racing, John.
It certainly has. I mean, it's a catch-22 situation, really, and we mentioned it earlier. The high likelihood of a safety car early on means that the drivers know they have to go at it on the first lap, because if they don't get any positions and the safety car comes out, suddenly, we're halfway through the race before they have another chance to. The problem is, of course, when the drivers go for it on the opening lap to try and gain those positions, that can then cause the safety car. So you really get this sort of cyclical situation where a safety car breeds another safety car because the drivers are so desperate to make progress while they can. But that's just the way it is, and that's a big part of sprint racing. Unfortunately, we're not going to see too many green flag laps here. Hopefully, we'll see another one before this race ends. But as you said, it's a bit tricky with a couple of cars needing recovered potentially. Just a couple of things of note there. Yes, Cameron Nelson lost the position to a fantastic restart from Proudford-Nalder. But even though he's off the podium, he is still leading in the rookie class for this race as well, with Dries Van Langendonck down in P12, second place of our rookie championship contenders. So it could still be a rookie win for Cameron Nelson. So it's not all lost, but of course he'd be desperate to get back on the podium if possible. May not be possible given the current situation. And yeah, as I said, we had a couple of the Red Bull high-tech cars looking racy at that restart as well. We saw Chiara Bättig further down, getting very close to the Argenti of Luboslav Roykov on his debut weekend in the championship. So that looked interesting heading down towards turn 1. And we also saw Kin Lindblom side by side through turn 1 as well. I didn't see who he was side by side with. It may have been his high-tech teammate, Theo Palmer, but I'm not quite sure on that one. Either way, both cars getting absolutely stuck in straight away on the safety car restart. And speaking of restarts, what a restart it was from Ethan Lennon. He managed to drive away, kind of caught Alba Larsen by surprise, I believe, and it kind of felt like Alba Larsen was the leader herself because she didn't really have much of a slipstream and she was leading the pack of cars. It is very, very difficult to restart a race from second place, Joshua, as well, because when you're the second place car, you're obviously waiting for the reaction of the first place car. So you've got that reaction time you have to wait for. The problem is, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, they can also see the first place car, not just your car. So although there's a delay between the first place car going and your reaction to go and follow them, third, fourth, and fifth don't have that, or they have the same delay. They can go when they see the first car going. So it just means that second place is arguably the most likely position in the field to lose position, because you're the only one that doesn't have an advantage over the cars in front.
You mentioned the top 2 there in rookies. The third place car in rookies is going to get a penalty for a jump start, and that is Lubo Roykov, the first-time racer in the British Championship this weekend. So he's not, I don't think, going to end up with a rookie podium. It's quite hard to win the rookie class when you're up against Dries Van Langendonck, the overall championship leader. So a great opportunity, as you mentioned, for Cameron Nelson to take a first rookie victory here. To become a rookie, you have not got to have done more than 3 events before the start of 2026. Dries Van Langendonck was right on that cut-off, so he could still be a rookie. He then won the Formula Winter Series, so although a rookie by classification, he's actually done a lot more racing than some of his competitors within that class prior to this season. So that's how he has ended up being classified as a rookie. But if you ask Dries, it's not about the rookie championship. It's absolutely about winning the overall championship this season. And he's going the best way about that by leading. But this 18-point advantage he's got over Lewis Wherrell is going to remain at that, at least after this race, should the race not resume. For even Jeff Hall, who came into this race 3rd in the championship, he started 10th. He is further down now, hasn't he? So even Jeff Hall has lost progress, so he's not going to score any points either. So Theo Palmer, who is 4th in points, he's currently 8th, that's a point. He's gained a place, that's another point. So a couple of points going the way of Theo Palmer. But Kin Lindblom is going to be the one who gains the most, because he's 6th in the race, that's 3 points. But he started 11th, he's up to 6th, that's an extra 5. So he's going to score 8 points out of this, which will draw him actually level with Theo Palmer if the race finishes as it currently is. We've got just under a minute on the clock. How are the recoveries getting on? They have been completed. So the safety car's coming in this lap. There are 40 seconds left of the race. So is Ethan Lennon going to accelerate or not? We shall see if the race ends at the end of this lap or not, or we are going to get a bonus lap. We know Ethan Lennon's good at restarts, or at least he was last time. So from that point of view, he can back himself to make this one lap shootout work for him. The green flag is ready at the starter's stand. But there's only 20 seconds on the clock, and Ethan Lennon is only now accelerating. Will he get to the line in the next 15 seconds or so? He might well just do, but he's made a very good restart anyway. So Ethan Lennon, like he did earlier, is alone up front as they go on to potentially the 9th and the final lap. The clock is very, very tight. They get there just about with a second to go. So we get one lap of racing. A big dive up the inside from George Proudford-Nalder, trying to make the move on Alba Larsen, which it looks like that has happened. So George Proudford-Nalder is absolutely a weapon on these restarts to make these moves, but for Ethan Lennon, he hangs on, but he's got to watch out because George Proudford-Nalder is on a charge as they make their way down into Hugenholtz for the final time in the 14th round of the championship. So Ethan Lennon, the race leader, as they charge uphill, and it is indeed the car of Proudford-Nalder in 2nd. Larsen still looking for her first podium in cars there in 3rd. She held on ahead of Cameron Nelson. A battle for 5th as Scott Kin Lindblom looks for more points, trying to make his move on Ethan Carney as they turn their way through Shivlak and up towards turn 8. And I don't think George Proudford-Nalder's giving up on a potential race win here, because he is charging after Ethan Lennon. He's got so much pace in this race. He's been making moves at Tarzan. Well, it's not going to be a Tarzan move that he can make now, so really it's going to have to come at the next corner through the S-bend. That's the last real overtaking opportunity, you would think, as they charge their way up towards the chicane. Dries Van Langendonck trying to make positions, trying to get any points out of this race that he can. But Ethan Lennon looking for the 2nd victory of the season in the British F4 Championship, but it's not going to become easy on this last lap because he cannot make a mistake through 13. We've seen that from other drivers here at Zandvoort this weekend in the past. If you chip a wheel out into the gravel, you lose momentum. That has not happened. So Ethan Lennon, a 2nd win in the Wera Tools F4 British Championship, and a win at Zandvoort just weeks before the Dutch Grand Prix. The checkered flag goes out. It's Ethan Lennon who wins. 2nd is George Proudford-Nalder, the star of the race, really. 3rd goes the way of Alba Larsen, her first podium in cars. 4th is Cameron Nelson. 5th is Ethan Carney. 6th is Scott Kin Lindblom, ahead of Theo Palmer in 7th and Jarrett Clark 8th.
I'm so glad we got that last lap shootout there. Thank you, Ethan Lennon, for going just early enough to give us that one lap shootout. I'm sure if he had someone in his ear on the radio, he would have delayed that acceleration all the way until he was on the pit straight to avoid a last lap shootout. But thankfully for us, we got it. And thankfully for George Proudford-Nalder as well, we got it, because he was lightning quick on that restart. A great move down the inside of Larsen. And fair play to Larsen. She gave him the room, let him have that position, which he was going to take anyway, avoided the contact, and the two of them raced very cleanly from that point. But Alba Larsen gets her first podium. Amazing story for the young Dane. And of course, Cameron Nelson does take the rookie honours in P4 for JHR, his best result of the season as well. And Dries Van Langendonck managed to get a couple of points there too, Josh. Not only does he get P11 in the actual race, so he doesn't quite get it there, he actually gets the overtake point because he started P12. So a point for Van Langendonck could be crucial.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at the provisional race results. There might be some inquiries into some of the racing during the race, but here they are for now. Ethan Lennon, the race winner by half a second. George Proudford-Nalder, a podium for him again in second. Alba Larsen took third, ahead of Cameron Nelson in fourth. Ethan Carney was fifth. Kin Lindblom was sixth. Theo Palmer up next in seventh. He made good progress on that restart too. Jarrett Clark was eighth. There's all the main point scorers. Then Tommy Harfield, Adam Al-Sahari, Dries Van Langendonck and Catch Felber were next. Ethan Jeff Hall didn't have the race that he would have hoped for in 13th. Emma Felbermayr was 14th ahead of Timo Junglin and Chiara Bättig. Ella Lloyd was next in 17th ahead of Jackson Walney, Joseph Smith and Leon Headfords. Lewis Wherrell, the weekend continues not to get any better. He's 21st ahead of Sun Anze. Jaber Al-Shabar is next in 23rd and Cole Hewitt's in 24th. Henry Mercier, Daniela Sutton and Lubo Royakov were the remaining finishers. Royakov, with that penalty, dropped him right to the back of the classified finishers. And there are multiple teams with damaged Tatus cars before race 3, which is only a few hours away. The final race of the weekend due around 1:30 local time here at Zandvoort, 12:30 or there or thereabouts. If you're watching back in the UK, do keep abreast of the British F4 socials and the YouTube page for full live coverage of every round of the championship this season. But it's a second win for Ethan Lennon. It's a win for Rodin Motorsport here at Zandvoort. George Proudford-Nalder in second place. That's only his second podium, actually, of the season. His other race was the highlight of the season, the race victory at the BRDC International Trophy. And Alba Larsen, the first podium, not just in British F4, I think it's our first top 10 finish in British F4, but our first podium in cars altogether. So 3 happy drivers will be making their way to the podium very shortly, but it is a starring drive from Ethan Lennon. It was all about the starts in round 14 of the championship, and it was Ethan Lennon who mastered the original start and the 2 restarts. Just 15 years of age, the driver with South African and British heritage, and he's been racing in cars in the UK for the last couple of years. Raced in Genetic Juniors last season, where he had success, and is having a successful single-seater campaign in British F4 this season, and we should be able to catch up with him before too much longer. But what we had of that, John, was pretty entertaining.
It was certainly entertaining. Unfortunately, not too many green flag laps, but we did see some good battles throughout those few laps. And it's mainly just drivers taking opportunities when presented them, keeping the nose clean, but trying to take advantage of issues. We saw a lot of drivers that started towards the back finish up in a good spot, likes of Sun Anju up to P22 in the end, Jackson Walney 18th, Ella Lloyd 17th. So it shows you if you can keep it clean, you're going to make a lot of positions here. But of course, the next race really is the one we need to pay attention to for the championship battle. It's full points on offer. It's the big race. It's where the original qualifying order sets the grid. And it's another chance for Dries Van Langendonck to continue to extend that new lead over Lewis Wherrell in the championship, as Van Langendonck will start from pole and Wherrell starts further down. But right now, it's of course Ethan Lennon who gets to enjoy his second win of the season. So he's really been taking advantage of these reverse grid races and doing a great job in the Rodin car. Of course, teammate to championship leader Van Langendonck. And Proudford-Nalder, second podium of the season. Not the win he had at Silverstone, but this was mighty impressive. Probably the driver of the race for me, simply because he didn't have much time to get it up from P6 on the grid, but he managed to finish second just from good overtaking, good restarts, and staying out of trouble. So great stuff from the Australian.
Absolutely right. So once the drivers get out the cars, one of the first things they do have to do is go and get weighed. So that is what's going on at the moment. That's been done. So I think now we can hear from our race winner, Ethan Lennon.
Ethan, many congratulations. Second win of the season. It was that start super critical, wasn't it?
Yeah, I got a really good start. That's something we were working on from other tracks like Sinet, Donington. So yeah, I really just nailed it this time, and yeah, really happy with that.
And of course, the couple of safety cars there. You had 2 restarts to try and manage. Did it feel good in the car?
Yeah, the car felt quite good. A little bit slippery with the oil spillage in T11, 12. But yeah, I think it was managed quite well, and yeah, overall, pretty good job.
Another win must be quite good to get the second half of the year up and running for you.
Yeah, definitely some good confidence on the second win. I only got my first in Donington, so it's been quite a wait, but yeah, I'm happy that it came here.
And of course, one more race. What are you hoping for in the last one?
I start P11, as we didn't have a great qualifying, so top 5 would be nice, but most realistically top 8, top 10.
Awesome, many congratulations, even congratulations.
Thank you.
Should we try and see if we can got time? Have we got time to try and get someone else? Should we see? Let's see if we can grab. Let's see if we can grab Alba Larsen quickly. Okay. Okay.
It's okay.
What an incredible podium. Of course, we've got Ethan Lennon, 2 wins. Alba Larsen on the podium for the first time. George Proudford-Nalder back on the podium, of course, after that international trophy win. Josh, back to you.